Hey Loppy, how's it going? You having a good day? It's good to see you. Oh, it's been it's been a weekend. I got to play a game yesterday. Actually, there was a group that I sometimes play with, MTG Nexus, that they had an opening for me last night. So I ended up playing one of these beginner decks, and it turned out fantastic. Actually, so it's good to see you. And for anybody else out there, we are playing Magic: The Gathering. We're specifically playing Commander. This will be a. These are really casual decks. These are actually some beginner decks. So this is what we do each Sunday: is play beginner decks, and we kind of go through all the different steps of showing how to play Magic, and just kind of investigate some of the different things. How that's a Magic joke. Investigate. It's an ability. Anyway, we're going to take a look at kind of what some of the decks that some of the decks that Magic can give you if you decide that you want to try to play. And I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So today we have Thopters versus zombies versus dragons. Yeah, I'm glad that you're able to get here, Loppy. I know that you've been trying. You keep you keep trying, and it keeps not working out somehow. So I'm glad you were able to catch me this time. Um, so for Thopters, our commander. So basically, there's what I did is I made 10 different beginner decks. They're each single colored. So Magic has five different colors: white, green, black, blue, and red. So you can look at the back of Magic cards and see the different colors. So each of these decks are what's known as monocolored. So they only have one color of Magic. And these in particular kind of focus around being aggro, which aggro as a strategy just means that our goal is to get our opponent's life total down to zero. Once we get them down to zero, we win. That's we don't care about anything else. That life total and nothing more. Yeah, Lobby. How about you? Are you doing good? I I was trying to think how's the job been going for you? Um, I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, sorry. So the other thing about these decks is that they're all tribal, so they all focus on a particular creature type. And Side Master Thopterist, so we're looking at Thopters, is a three cost, 1/4, 1/4 creature. It's more like Yu-Gi-Oh! Is kind of like Magic, except not quite as good. I'm just kidding. I played Yu-Gi-Oh! For a long time, so don't get me wrong. I'm making jokes. Um, so we have a legendary creature that's kind of the focus of our deck. He's our general, our commander, and he has whenever you cast an artifact spell, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying, and then he can pay 2 mana, sacrifice 2 artifacts to draw a card. So we're going to definitely be looking at having a bunch of low cost artifacts. We're going to try to play them out as fast as we can to make a bunch of flyers, and then hopefully win the game with them. So to start out, we have a good number of land. You always want to kind of see how you're doing based on how many lands you're going to start the game with. And right now we're starting with 3, which is really good because Sai needs 3 mana to be able to cast him. So he's 2 colorless and a single blue. And then the rest of our hand is actually really, really good. We have 3 2-cost cards and 1 3-cost card, and they're all artifacts. So we're gonna hold off on doing too much with artifacts to begin with. We're gonna try to just play these 3 lands to get Sai out, and then the next turn we'll try to do as many artifacts as we can. We might try to do Sky Diamond in on our second turn, which generally you don't want to do. You don't want to play your artifacts before you get Sai out, but it may be the case that getting this Sky Diamond out a little bit early may help us in the long run because it'll ramp us mana. So that's Sky Diamond is a 2-cost artifact that adds a blue mana to our mana pool. So it's a pretty good card to have. Let's go ahead and start our first turn here. So turn order starts with technically untap, upkeep, and then draw. We don't really have anything to untap, so whenever something uses its energy for the turn, so to speak, it becomes tapped, and we'll show that by literally turning it sideways like that. And so in the case of like lands expel their energy to produce mana, whereas creatures expel their energy by attacking or activating abilities. So we'll just start out with, we don't have untap. Upkeep is a phase that a bunch of different things can happen in, but it's sort of like a beginning of the turn cleanup step, so to speak. So it allows things to happen early on in the turn, before you're able to cast anything or do anything special. So after that, we draw our first card for the turn, which is Inspired Sphinx, which is a really big. Yeah, that's going to be really good. It's a big flyer by itself. It's a 5/5, but it also has an ability to create tokens. So create Thopters. So that's why it's in the deck. Is even though it's not technically a Thopter by itself, it creates Thopters. So that's going to be really good later. So for now, we will just play. You can play one land a turn. So we'll play our one land, and then we will move on to the next player's turn, which is zombies. So our zombie deck is a little bit different from our artifact deck. So the Thopter deck focuses really, really heavily on artifacts, in addition to the creatures. Well, Ghoul-Caller Gissa, the zombie deck, is all about the dead bodies. They want the bodies to hit the floor, so to speak. We're going to try to play as many zombies as we can and just kind of flood the board with zombies. And our Ghoul-Caller Gissa will help us out with that because her ability, so she's a 5-cost 3/4, and her ability is pay a black, tap. So basically, like I said, you expel her energy for the turn to be able to use her effect, and she has sacrifice another creature to put X 2/2 zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield, where X is the sacrifice creature's power. So basically, if we tap her and sacrifice like a 3-power creature, then we'll get 3 2/2 creatures. So instead of having 1/3 creature, we have 3/2 power. 3/2 power. So we'll double our power basically, just by sacrificing one creature. So we're going to do that. We're going to sacrifice our own zombies to make more zombies, and then we're going to bring those zombies back from the dead to attack again. So starting out, our Ghoul-Caller takes a little bit of mana to get started, so she's going to probably be kind of a secondary sort of plan for us. Our primary plan is just to get out zombies as much as possible, and we actually did manage to start out with 2 zombies, and we have 4 lands to do it, so that's a really good hand to start with, especially because our one of our 2 zombies costs 4 mana, so we already have the mana that we need to be able to cast it. So let's take our first turn, and it is Jet Medallion. Oh, that's even better. So Jet Medallion is a 2-cost artifact that makes black spells cost 1 less to cast. So that will mean all of our black spells will be less, which is really good for us because we really want to be able to cast them as soon as possible. So we'll plan on doing that on our second turn, but for now we'll just play a swamp and then pass the turn. So our final deck today is a dragon deck. So like I said, all of them focus on different creature types. We have Thopters, we have zombies, and now we have the mythical dragons. And dragons do. They do exactly what you think they'll do. They're just going to rain fire from the sky and burn everybody to death. And what better than with our starting hand? We have a good number of mountains to start out with. Unfortunately, we don't have any cards that we're going to play early, but we're making up for that with this card called Earthquake. So basically, if you're a big deck like this, so the small decks don't have to worry about mana too much. They have really small costing spells, small CMC basically. So they don't need very many lands to get their stuff out. Well, dragons are a little bit different. They take a lot of mana to get out. We have an 8-cost dragon to be able to cast, and our commander herself, Lathless Dragon Queen, is a 6-cost 6/6. So 4 lands is definitely not going to get us there, But if you're seeing a hand like this and you're playing a bunch of big spells and you really want to try to get cards like Earthquake. So Earthquake costs X mana and a red. So we get to choose what X is. We can make it as big as we want based on how much mana that we have. And it deals X damage to each creature without flying and each player. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to kind of take it real slow at the beginning. We're just going to kind of play lands and let the other two decks do what they want. And then right at the right time, right at the right opportunity, we will play Earthquake to basically kill everybody else's stuff off and then start playing dragons. And so hopefully we'll have cleared the board and made it difficult for them to be able to recover. So Earthquake is what's known as a control card. Its use is primarily to try to prevent players from being able to enact their game plan. And so once we do, we'll have Lathless Dragon Queen, and Lathless is really, really cool. So she's a dragon by herself. She's a flying 6/6 dragon, but she also has that whenever another non-token dragon, so a non-token would be like if it's a real card. So whenever we have another real dragon come into play, then she will make a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. So she's a dragon that makes dragons when we play dragons. So it's going to be really cool to be able to kind of get her out and then put a bunch of dragons into play. And then after we do that, we also can, if we kind of have leftover mana or something one turn, then we can use her second ability, which has pay a colorless and a red, and other dragons you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. So she makes all of your dragons stronger. So that's really awesome. So let's go ahead and start. So untap again. We don't have anything to untap, so we'll just go upkeep, and we don't have any upkeep to manage. So we'll draw our first card for the turn, and it is Ancient Hellkite. Ooh, nice. So it's a 7-cost 6/6 dragon with flying that has pay a red. Ancient Hellkite deals 1 damage to target creature defending player controls. Activate this ability only if Ancient Hellkite is attacking. So here's a really cool thing. So if we get this dragon out and we attack with it, then he literally just burns all of your opponent's creatures. If you want to pay the mana to do it, then he just can burn down all of your opposing creatures, so they don't have anything to block with. So that's a really cool dragon to have. And I mean, we don't want too many more dragons, so hopefully we'll draw 2 more lands and we can start getting Lathless out. But until then, let's just go ahead and play our first mountain. We have some time. We're not in too big of a rush with the dragons. So we'll just pass the turn back to our first turn, which is the Thopters again. So what I really like about the Thopters is how many different artifacts there really are to play around with when it comes to Psi. You can play really, really big artifacts and then use the Thopters that you generate just as kind of blockers or incidental stuff. We're really low to the ground. Like I said, we have, other than this 7-cost card, all of the other cards in our hand are pretty low-cost artifacts. So we're kind of looking at making a big army of small creatures and then kind of pumping them up to make them stronger. So let's go ahead and untap. We didn't use our land last turn, so there's nothing to untap. Upkeep, draw a card. Wow, look at that. Okay, so Soul Ring, man, this is a really, really strong card. This is a card that actually people debate about whether or not it should be banned. And they've been talking about whether or not this card should be banned for a very, very long time. Like before I started playing Magic, long time. And it's because Soul Ring has been around for so long. And the reason why is because it only costs 1 mana to play, and it immediately makes 2 mana. So what we're going to do here, actually, is we're going to get Psi Master Thopterist out a lot earlier than we thought we were going to. We're going to pay a 1 blue to be able to cast our Soul Ring. And like I said, we don't normally want to do this, but because we can get Psi Master Thopterist out this turn, then we're going to go and do it. So we used one island to cast Soul Ring, and then we have one more blue mana and 2 colorless to cast Psi Master Thopterist. So next turn we're going to play a bunch of the cards in our hand. It's going to be crazy. So look out. And from now, that's all we're going to do with Psi. We're going to go ahead and pass it over back to the zombies and see if the zombies can find the brains that they're looking for. So untap, we don't have anything to untap. Upkeep and draw a card. So that is our 5th land, which is really good because it means that we can now get... Well, we could get Ghoul Caller Gissa out with the Jet Medallion, which is what we're going to go ahead and play. So we'll play our 1 land for the turn and use those 2 mana to cast this 2-cost Jet Medallion. So we actually could have gotten Ghoul Caller Gissa out at the correct amount of time, just based on Jet Medallion. But it's really good to still have the extra land to be able to play stuff. So for now, that's all we're going to get to do. We just have to pass it on to Lathless and see if they're going to get the mana that they need. So let's untap, upkeep, and draw a card. And yep, there it is. There's our mountain that we want. So we're 1 mountain away from being on track for Lathless. So basically what we're going to do is on our 5th turn, if we've managed to draw the other land that we need. Thank you, Cuckoo Clock. If we draw the 6th land that we need, then we'll have all the mana. So on our 5th turn, we'll play our 5th land. We'll tap all of that land to cast Earthquake to try to clear the board. And then just kind of cross our fingers that we got rid of enough stuff that we can play Lathless and not feel worried about Lathless getting killed or something like that, and making it more difficult on us. But for now, we will pass the turn. We don't have anything else to do. So Psi Master Thopterist is going to get to go a little bananas here. So we'll untap. So there's our first untap. Upkeep, nothing to do. Draw a card. There's Stolen Identity. Wow. Okay, well, that will come in handy in another turn. But for now, we will play a land. The last land in our hand. We will tap 3 mana here. So the Soul Ring taps for 2. And we will play Foundry Inspector, and the reason that we're doing that is because it's going to make our artifacts cheaper, and since we cast an artifact, we get a Thopter. So then, because our artifacts cost less, we're going to tap an island to put Sky Diamond into play, and it comes into play tapped, so it's a 2-cost artifact that comes into play tapped and adds 1 blue mana. So, because we cast another artifact, we get a Thopter. And then we're going to pay 1 more mana here to cast Ichor Wellspring. So when Ichor Wellspring is a 2-cost artifact that whenever it enters the battlefield or is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card. So since we casted an artifact, we get a 1/1 Thopter here. And then we will draw a card from Ichor Wellspring, which was Trading Post. That's a really good one. So Trading Post is like a jack of all trades kind of thing, and each of its abilities kind of tie into itself in a circle. So it's an artifact that costs 4, but then you can pay 1, tap it to discard a card, and then gain 4 life. And then you can also, if you want to, instead you can pay 1 and tap it to pay a life. So the last one, discarded card for life. The second one, you lose life to put a creature, a 0/1 goat. And then the third one is sacrifice a creature. So the creature that you made, you can sacrifice it to return an artifact from your graveyard to your hand. And then the last one is sacrifice an artifact to draw a card. So like I said, the last one has draw a card and the first one is discard a card. So it kind of if you do it all the way around in a circle, you basically net gaining 3 life. And what we're going to do next turn is probably use it to make another Thopter and create, basically we're going to sacrifice this Ichor Wellspring to draw 2 cards. And then maybe we will use the sacrifice a creature to return an artifact. So we'll be able to basically from then on, we can use Trading Post to sacrifice a Thopter to bring Ichor Wellspring back, to play Ichor Wellspring to create a Thopter, and we'll basically create a small single turn loop with 3 cards, essentially. So that's going to be really cool. Right now, we don't have too much else we want to do with all of this. We've kind of maxed out our mana here, and we've maxed out the things that we can do with these cards. So we could attack. We have 1 creature that can attack, but like I generally say in these types of things, since it's just 1 damage, it's not going to generally be enough to make too much of a difference. And attacking now just kind of creates an enemy when you don't have to. So often it's better to just hold back in multiplayer games at the very beginning when there's no clear winner. Like, we are definitely ahead, so we don't necessarily want to create an enemy when we don't have to. So we're just going to go ahead and pass the turn, and we will pass it on to the zombies, who are now looking a little perturbed at the Thopter deck, how fast they were able to get everything out. So, their turn, they will untap. We don't have an upkeep or anything during our upkeep, so we will draw a card, and it's another swamp. So, at this point, we're kind of hoping for something that isn't a swamp so that we can get some more zombies, really. But for now, we will pay 3 mana. We will cast Risen Executioner, which is a 4-cost 4/3 zombie. It can't block, so we can't use it as a blocker, but it gives all of our other zombies +1/+1. And then if we want to, if Risen Executioner is in our graveyard, we can cast it from our graveyard if we pay 1 colorless more to cast it for each other creature in our graveyard. So basically, we can throw this headlong into somebody, and if they kill it, then we can just basically immediately revive it if we want to. And also, very likely what we'll do is actually we will play Gissa, Ghoul Caller Gissa next turn, and we'll start sacrificing Risen Executioner to Gissa to make a bunch of zombies, and then we'll just bring Risen Executioner back from the dead. So it's going to be a fun time, I think, anyway. So for now, we will just leave it at that and pass the turn. Back over to the dragons. So the dragons don't have an untap, and they don't have anything during their upkeep, so they'll just draw a card. Oh, and look at that. Dragon Master Outcast. So, I think we want to hold on to this guy because we're still kind of on the game plan of doing Earthquake. If this Dragon Master Outcast had an ability that made it cheaper to play dragons, we would definitely consider playing it now. But its ability is that at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 6 or more lands, you get a free dragon creature. Dragon token creature. So, but he's otherwise just he's a 1-cost 1/1. So by himself, he doesn't do much. So we really have to get that last land. So we're just still we have a low cost card, but we're still on the same game plan of playing a land this turn. And then in a few turns, we will try to Earthquake, and hopefully we'll have the mana that we need to be able to cast Lathliss. So for now, we will pass the turn back to the Thopters, who, like I said, have kind of insanity here. We will untap, so we'll untap all of these cards. We will draw a card for the turn, which is Efficient Construction. Ooh. So Efficient Construction has, whenever you cast an artifact spell, you create a colorless Thopter creature token with flying. So basically, this is an enchantment version of Psy Master Thopterist. So it could actually be pretty useful to us to play this Efficient Construction early so that we can start reaping the advantage of having that. So I think what we'll do is, let's go ahead and play that now. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4 mana. We have to pay the full cost for this enchantment, unfortunately. So we'll play Efficient Construction. Well, actually, let me put it down here so that it's maybe a little bit easier to see, and it's not a creature. We'll put all of our creatures up here. So after we do that, we can't cast Trading Post, unfortunately, but we can do 1 mana for our Mere Retriever. So Mere Retriever is a 2-cost 1/1 artifact mirror creature that has, when it dies, you return another target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. So what we're going to do with this one is we're definitely going to, we're basically going to sacrifice it to Master Thopter's ability to return artifacts back to our hand when we need to. And because we cast an artifact spell, we get a Thopter from Psi Master Thopterist, and we also get a Thopter from our Efficient Construction. So you see how we're immediately getting a bunch of Thopters, and how easy it's going to be to basically say, okay, so now we can start dealing a lot of damage. We can attack with 3 Thopters towards the zombie deck, and we will attack with Foundry Inspector for 3 damage at the dragons. So we were able to split our damage equally so that sort of that nobody feels targeted necessarily. Everybody kind of gets some damage with it. So the dragon deck, Lathless, will be down to 37, and because these Thopters have flying, and also because that zombie can't block at all, even if they didn't have flying, the zombie deck is also going to take 3 damage and be down to 37. So now we have some blockers to be able to block their zombie if they try to attack us. So we will pass the turn over to the zombie deck, because that is all we don't have any more mana that we can do anything with at this point. So it is the Risen Executioner's turn, essentially. So we'll untap, we'll draw a card. We got another swamp. Like I said, we're kind of looking for another zombie right now. So we will play the swamp here, and then we will pay 4 mana in order to cast our commander, Ghoulcaller Gissa. So for now, all that we're going to do is we'll go ahead and attack. We know that the Thopter deck can just make more Thopters, but for now, go ahead and attacking and forcing them to lose one of their Thopters is probably good, because it means that there's less Thopters for them to be able to do stuff with. And we don't really have any grudges against the Dragon deck, who hasn't really played any cards yet, so we're okay doing that. The Thopter deck will block with a Thopter, and that Thopter will die. So, like I said, our game plan now is going to be using Ghoulcaller Gissa to sacrifice Risen Executioner, and we'll bring the Risen Executioner back from the dead using its own ability, so that we can keep re-sacrificing the Risen Executioner. Moving on back to the Dragon deck, let's see what they can draw. Maybe a Mana Rock? That would be really good. So reveal, and it is Lightning Greaves. So this is a kind of weird, a little bit of a weird card to put in here, but red doesn't have necessarily a lot of ability to protect its own creatures without the help of artifacts. So we're going to use this artifact to give, it's an equipment, so it's a 2-cost equipment that has equipped creature has haste and shroud. So basically you just slap this onto a creature and it gets those abilities. And thankfully the equip cost is 0 on this card. Unfortunately, that doesn't really help us get Lathless out sooner. It doesn't really help us do a whole lot of anything. So we're just going to go ahead and play that mountain and then pass the turn back to the Thopters. And again, hope that we can, maybe get one more land is what we need. One more land. I'm really hoping to see that one last land. So let's see what the Thopters have. So they will untap. In this case, they have the Foundry Inspector and 3 Thopters to untap. So untap our upkeep. We don't have anything, so we will draw a card. It is Chief Engineer. So Chief Engineer is a 2-cost 1/3 Veldalken Artificer. Sorry. And then it has artifact spells you cast have Convoke. So your artifact creatures can help cast spells, and they do this. So I'm reading the ability Convoke. So each creature you tap while casting an artifact spell pays for one colorless or one mana of that creature's color. So basically, if we needed to, if we had a high costing artifact, we could actually use Thopters to pay for its cost. So in this case, we're probably not going to attack with this Mirror Retriever. So we could probably tap it in order to cast our Trading Post. So let's go ahead and do that. We will tap the Mirror Retriever, and we will pay 2 more mana in order to cast our Trading Post. And because we cast an artifact, we actually get 2 Thopters. So we get 1 Thopter from Psi Master Thopterist, and 1 more from the Efficient Construction. From there, we will go ahead and pay 1 mana to activate Trading Post. And the ability that we're doing is the sacrifice an artifact to draw a card. So we will sacrifice this artifact, and then we draw a card from Trading Post's ability, which is a card called Counterspell. But then whenever Ichor Wellspring goes in the graveyard, we also draw a card. So our second card is Joyra's Familiar. Wow, that's actually really good. So Joyra's Familiar is a 4-cost 2/2 artifact bird, and it has flying, and then historic spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So historic is anything that's legendary or anything that's an artifact or a saga, and so like our Psi Master Thopterist counts as a historic card, but also it reduced the cost of all of our artifacts. So we're going to go ahead and play that too. I really like everything being as, like requiring as few mana as possible. So we will do this. So we will pay 3 mana because our Foundry Inspector reduces the cost of this Joyra's Familiar. So we will cast Joyra's Familiar, and because we cast an artifact spell, we're going to get 2 more Thopters. So we have created so many Thopters. 4 of these, unfortunately, can't attack this turn, but the other 4 can. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to attack with 4 flying Thopters at the zombies, and then we will attack with our 3/2 Foundry Inspector towards the dragons again. So these Thopters can't be blocked by the creatures that zombies have, so they're going to lose 4 life and be down to 33 life, and then Foundry Inspector is going to deal 3 damage to the dragons, and they will be down to 34. So, wow, that's really, really good. I'm happy that this is this is exactly how this Thopter deck is supposed to operate. So it's really good to be able to get to see it kind of do this thing, work as a well-oiled machine, so to speak. From here, this is all that we can do. So we will go ahead and pass the turn over to the zombies, who are getting a little scared now because that's a lot of Thopters, and they could easily the Thopters basically can deal 10 damage a turn now. So that's not good for us at all. Thankfully, we have a little bit of a plan that we're hoping to enact to be able to make some catch up here. Be able to do some catch up. So we will untap, upkeep, draw a card. It is Cavern of Souls, another land. Ugh. I guess my shuffling just did not work out this time. So we are going to play a different land that we've been holding on to since the beginning of the game. It's called Nykthos Shrine to Nyx. And it is a legendary land that can normally, you can just tap it for a single colorless mana, but you can also pay 2 mana, tap it, choose a color, and then we add mana of an amount of that color. So whatever color we choose, that's the color we get out. And then the amount of mana that we get is based on our devotion. So devotion looks at the converted mana costs of all the cards that we have, and however many colored symbols there are. That's how. So if we choose black, basically, since Risen Executioner has two black symbols in it, and Ghoul Colorgus has two black symbols in it, that means that we'll get 4 mana out of activating Nykthos. So we don't have anything we can. So basically, I think what we'll go ahead and do is we will attack with Risen Executioner, which seems kind of weird because we will make the zombies, but we're going to make it the second main phase. This is kind of one of the things that takes a while to figure out, is knowing that how the game works is you do your beginning of turn stuff. You untap, you upkeep, and you draw. And then after that, you get a phase called the main phase 1. And during that phase, you can play spells, you can play lands, you can activate abilities, you do all that sort of stuff. Anything that is known as sorcery speed. So anything that is like a creature, or it's specifically called a sorcery, which is why it's known as that. Most artifacts, enchantments, and planeswalkers are also all sort of sorcery speed. It basically means, so there's things called instants, spells that happen the moment you play it. So those are the things that you can cast at any time, but during your main phase is the only place that you can cast sorceries or anything that's sorcery speed. So you do your main phase 1, then you have a combat phase where you do all of your attacking. And after that combat phase, you get another main phase. So you want to try to do all of your attacks first, because what that does is it forces your opponents to have to plan around combat with whatever you currently have out. They don't know what you're going to do next. They don't know what your plan is for the next turn until after combat. So that can be really advantageous to you if you know how to do it. So that's why we're going to do our sacrifice with Risen Executioner after this. So we're going to attack with just the Risen Executioner towards the Thopters. The same thing is going to happen. They are going to block with a single Thopter, because we don't need the Thopters. To us are more valuable to be able to attack in the air with them. So we don't want to lose too many of them if we can help it. So during our second main phase, we are going to activate Nykthos, which means that we get 4 mana available. And with that 4 mana, one of them is going to be to activate Ghoul Colorgus to sacrifice the Risen Executioner, which means that because its power was 4, we get 4 zombies out. And now we still have 3 mana floating. So the thing is that we're going to actually use that 3 mana to recast Risen Executioner from our graveyard. And the reason that we can do that is because, while it only takes 3 mana to do that, is because Jet Medallion reduces the cost of black spells that we cast. And Risen Executioner's ability allows you to cast it from the graveyard. It's not an ability that just kind of reanimates it. It just doesn't put it straight onto the battlefield. So instead, it actually goes onto what's known as the stack. It's a place where spells resolve before they have their effect happen. So Risen Executioner is going to be able to be cast for only 3 mana because it normally costs 4. It would cost more if we had more creatures in the graveyard, but we don't. So it's just going to be that much mana. And then we could play the other zombie that we have. And I'm thinking that, as much as that would be nice, I think that we want to hold it into our hand because it doesn't have an ability that gives more zombies +1/+1. And if it did, then we would use it. But for now, it just has a kind of a regular ability that creates zombies. So we're going to hold off on that because we already have a really good board state where we're going to be generating. These creatures are bigger than the Thopters. So from moving forward, the Thopters are actually going to have to pay attention to us because we can start dealing them more damage than they can because we actually have 3/3 zombies because of Risen Executioner. So that's going to be a really big deal moving forward with the Thopters. So we've already, just by having this, we're putting a lot of pressure on the Thopters. And then also the other thing about not playing this card right here, this Gravecaller Marshal or Graveyard Marshal, is that you never want to commit too much to the board if you don't have to. Like the artifacts, a lot of that stuff can be returned with their own abilities or with like the ability of the trading post and stuff like that. We can commit a lot to the board with the artifacts because we know that we can return it for sure, and not lose a whole lot. But the zombies, we have specific cards that we need to do that. And so unless it's going to immediately increase the strength of the zombies and get us closer to that goal of attacking an opponent and getting their life total down to 0, then we want to hold off on it if we can. Until because the thing is that we don't know is that somebody, especially in kind of regular Magic games, Commander is really well known for having wrath effects. And if you put too much to the board, then you could just end up getting everything destroyed with a card that says literally destroy all creatures. So we don't want to put ourselves too far behind if we can help it. We're going to hold off on the Graveyard Marshal for now because, like I said, its ability isn't immediately impactful on the board. And we have a really good thing going for us right now already, so we don't really need too much more than this. Now it is the dragon's turn, and the dragons are going to hope that this is a land right here. And it's not a land. Okay, so we're just going to put this into our hand. We're going to play this, and we're going to cast a Lightning Greaves. And so everybody, we're going to do this because we don't know when our next chance to play Lightning Greaves is going to be. And it does make it look like we're going to play Lathlas next turn because it means that we can untap, play our 6th land, and attack with Lathlas, when that may not be our goal at all. It's really going to be Earthquake probably before we do anything. So for now, we will just pass the turn and try to look as innocent as we can. Make a big googly-eyed face and promise that we're not doing anything suspicious. When we probably look very suspicious at this point. Okay, so let's see. We untap all of this mess. We have such a big mess here. So untap here, just a ton of Thopters. Draw a card for the turn. It is a Darksteel Citadel, which is an artifact land, so that's really cool. So let's see. Let's go and play that land. We don't get to do anything with it necessarily. Like it's not creating any Thopters because land cards aren't cast. So if this had, whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, or whenever you play an artifact spell, then Darksteel Citadel would activate it. But since it's actually cast, lands aren't cast. So this card does not do anything to that. Now, with our hand, I think what we want to do is we're just going to use this here to tap Trading Post, and we will, so again, we're going to do this kind of backwards, of course. We are going to, or seemingly backwards. So we are going to swing with all of our... So basically the zombie deck now has shown itself to be the problematic deck. So we're just going to go all out attacking them in the air. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage. So our 9 damage is going to go straight into the face of the zombie deck. So they are down to 24 life. Wow. We're rapidly clicking them down. So we will tap our Darksteel Citadel in order to tap Trading Post and sacrifice one of these Thopters in order to return this Ichor Wellspring back to our hand. So that's one of the abilities of Trading Post. Now, because artifact spells cost 1 less from Foundry Inspector, and they cost 1 less from Joyra's Familiar, we're going to get to play Ichor Wellspring for free. And we're going to get to, well, first, because we cast an artifact, we get to put 2 artifacts into play. Then we will draw a card from Ichor Wellspring coming into the battlefield. So we drew Skull Clamp. Holy crap, is Skull Clamp really, really good. Okay, so let's activate Soul Ring for 2 colorless mana. We'll use 1 of that colorless mana in order to cast Skull Clamp, which means that we get 2 more Thopters. Here we go. So that's all the Thopters we need to block the zombies that the zombie deck has created. Now we are going to pay 1 blue. Oh wait, no, we don't have to. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? Skull Clamp is free. We don't even have to tap any mana for it. Wow. Okay, so now we're going to activate Soul Ring and use that to equip Skull Clamp. I mean, not Soul Ring. Activate Soul Ring in order to use Skull Clamp's ability. So Skull Clamp is a 1 colorless artifact equipment where the equipped creature gets +1, -1. And then whenever equipped creature is put into the graveyard, you draw 2 cards. It only costs 1 to equip. So we are going to equip this 1/1 Thopter to it, and it is going to become a 2/0 Thopter. And because it has 0 toughness, this Thopter is going to die. But when it dies, I draw 2 cards from Skull Clamp. Oh, wow. Okay, so let's see. What else can we do? So we did draw a really, really important artifact, and I think moving forward, I think we want to play it, even though it's kind of ridiculous to leave ourselves open for a turn. I don't think the zombies can actually deal with us in a meaningful way once we get this artifact out. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see, actually, no, we need this guy out. So we have 1 colorless floating there. We need to tap this one in order to play the Chief Engineer. So now we can use its ability, the Convoke ability. So with Darksteel Forge, it's a 9-cost card normally, but it costs 2 less from Foundry Inspector and the Joyra's Familiar. So now it only costs 7. So now here's 3 mana, so we need 4 more mana to cast it. So we will tap this guy, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we've tapped 4 creatures in order to reduce Darksteel Forge's cost by that much. So there we go. Now we play Darksteel Forge, a 9-cost artifact. And you know why it's important to have this Darksteel Forge out? This is sort of the trump card of the artifact deck. This is the card that kind of just can often make the game trivial for us, because what it is it's an artifact that has artifacts you control have indestructible. None of our artifacts are ever going to be destroyed from now on. No matter what anybody tries to do with them, they have to literally remove them straight from the game in order to do anything about it. Or they have to give things 0 toughness. So, since we cast an artifact spell, we get 2 more Thopters. Now these 1/1 Thopters, they can block the zombies completely free. They don't have to worry about the zombies trying to deal damage, because they can't deal any damage that's meaningful at all. So at this point, it may it may mean the artifact deck just won the game. Because I don't know what else anybody can do about this. Now, Scythe Master Thopterus can still die, and so can Chief Engineer, but it doesn't really matter because we can replay the Scythe Master Thopterus, but we have his effect with Efficient Construction. We don't really care if we lose him. So we're just going to go ahead and pass and kind of gleefully hope that nobody has anything that is going to do anything about this. Now, it is possible that this deck, this zombie deck, does have a card that can do something about this. But we'll just have to wait and see if we can get it. So here's untap, untap, upkeep, draw a card. Wow, that's actually like the one card that could possibly do something. So just in case, we're going to play this Cavern of Souls. And Cavern of Souls means that when it comes into play, we choose a creature type. We're going to choose zombies. So now, whenever we use Cavern of Souls to cast a zombie spell, people can't counterspell it while it's being cast. So that blue deck has literally the card counterspell, which is what all counterspells are named after. And so essentially, blue's ability to get rid of cards is only by doing it before they have their effect. That's why the stack exists. So you can essentially get rid of people's cards before they get to have their effect. So we are absolutely, let's see. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter so much about the zombies, unfortunately. What I mean is that we could attack, but they have indestructible blockers. So we're probably not going to attack this turn. We're just going to activate Nykthos for 4 mana, so 2, 4, and then 5 mana with the Cavern of Souls. We will cast our Sidisi, Undead Vizier. Actually, we will have 1 black mana floating because of the Jet Medallion. Sidisi actually costs 1 less. Okay, so when Sidisi Undead Vizier comes into play, you can sacrifice a creature. So we will go ahead and sacrifice a zombie. When we do that, we can search our library for any card and put it into our hand, then shuffle our library. So at this point, the card we are going to look for some kind of card that helps us get past this nonsense over here. So that's going to be a possible card. Let's see. I have a different card in mind that I'm thinking about that I may want to do something with. This one will work at the very, very least, but I'm pretty sure that we have something that's better. And I just have to find it, unfortunately. Yep, there it is. Noxious Ghoul. The one man defeat everything show. So we don't have to reveal what the card is with the Sidisi. We don't have to at all. So all we're going to do is actually I'm showing the camera so that you guys can see it. So Noxious Ghoul is a 5-cost 3/3 zombie. It has when Noxious Ghoul or another zombie comes into play, all non-zombie creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn. So like I said, there's very limited ways to get rid of indestructible creatures. One of them is giving them 0 toughness. So with the Thopters, if they got, if they had, sorry, I'm trying to say too many things at once. Skull Clamp, the artifact that we used to draw cards. So Skull Clamp gives the equipped creature +1/-1. So their toughness goes down gets a subtraction from it. And that's why the Thopter died. Well, even if the Thopter has indestructible, Skull Clamp will actually still kill a Thopter because its toughness will be 0. Well, the same thing is going to happen with Noxious Ghoul. We're going to play Noxious Ghoul, and it's going to wipe out all of the indestructible Thopters that the artifact deck has. In fact, the artifact deck is going to have to try really, really hard at this point to be able to keep up with the zombie deck now. The zombie deck, without some interference by the dragons, the zombie deck is probably going to take the throne unless the artifact deck can do something about it. So I'm going to finish shuffling here, and then we unfortunately cannot play Noxious Ghoul this turn. So we have to hold off, even though the cost is reduced, and we do have a floating mana. We still can't do anything with Noxious Ghoul. We're going to just have to say, oh well, and leave it at that. Now, that being said, we can still create zombies this turn. So with that floating mana, we're actually going to activate Ghoul Caller Gissa. And then we're going to, I think we're going to go ahead and sacrifice the Risen Executioner in order to make 4 more zombies. Since we have a plan, I'm okay going ahead and building up an army right now while we still have some mana to do something with. So we'll get the Risen Executioner out of there to have ourselves some more zombies. Even if they can't block yet, it'll be okay. So after that, we will pass the turn because we don't have enough mana to cast Risen Executioner from our graveyard. So now it is the dragon's turn. They are going to untap, draw a card. Hellkite Charger. Okay, well, like I said, we needed the mana, and we now have spent this is our 6th turn, and we should have drawn another mana at this point, or something that reduced the cost of dragons. We didn't. So, unfortunately, we're not going to do anything yet, because we are like super weak now. We are extremely far behind. There is nothing. We don't have anything that is in our deck. Well, we may have very limited things to be able to stop indestructible Thopters. So if it seems like the zombie deck has any sort of plan, then we have to let them do it, because we can use Earthquake to stop the zombies from being able to do much, because the Earthquake will definitely kill off pretty much all the zombies. They'll be able to have Sidisi out still, but we'll be able to wipe them all out. But that kind of stops whatever game plan they might have. And we need their help to be able to take down Thopters at this point. So in case we can't do anything else, we're just going to have to wait out and cross our fingers and show that we're trying to do something. But unfortunately, we just got really unlucky. The zombie deck got extremely lucky, extraordinarily lucky with that Sidisi draw. And thankfully, they have a plan now. So now it's up to Thopters to see if they can stop them. I mean, the Thopters don't know what the Sidisi deck has, but let's go ahead and untap and I'll explain. So untap, lots of untap, lots of Thopters. Untap here. Draw a card for the turn, and it is Grand Architect. Other blue creatures you control get +1/+1. Target artifact creature becomes a blue creature, and then tap an untapped blue creature you control to add 2 colorless mana to your mana pool that can only be used on artifacts. So, here's the thing. We know that the zombie deck could possibly have some kind of card that stops us. We don't know what it is, for sure anyway. We could make guesses about what it could be, but we just know that they got one single card out of their entire deck. Most likely, it's something to try to stop us. So that's why we are going to hold on to our counterspell here, and we also additionally have Arcane Denial to stop a second spell. So basically, all we're going to do is we're going to look at what we can do that uses only a little bit of mana that still does what we want to do without using so much mana that we're going to try to use only about three of our mana here. So to start out with, we have Ichor Wellspring. So let's go ahead and tap this Trading Post to use the mana from Darksteel Citadel to activate Trading Post to sacrifice Ichor Wellspring. And when we do that, we draw 2 cards. So we got another island. That's really good. So let's go ahead and play that island for the turn. Let's see here. So all of these Thopters are for sure... Well, pretty much all the Thopters are going to attack. Let's see what else we're really have in hand. So this Thopter Squadron actually allows us to create a couple more blockers. Most likely we will block with these two since they're indestructible. We can tap these two to reduce the cost of artifacts. So I think that's a decent amount of stuff that we can do. Okay, so we want to leave up. Well, actually, we don't really need to leave up too many blockers whatsoever, because even though we could let a number of the zombies get through without sustaining too much damage. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to attack with all of our Thopters and Droiderus Familiar against the zombie deck, which means that we deal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 damage. Wow. That puts them down to 11 life. So they are one attack away. And see, that's what I mean. We can attack them with a ton of things without really being in fear of pretty much anything. So on our second main phase, we are going to, let's see. So we're going to cast Thopter Squadron. Thopter Squadron costs 5. So it's normally 5, but then it's reduced by 2, so it only costs 3. So we're going to tap Psi Master Thopterus and the Soul Ring in order to pay the rest of it. Like I said, we have that Chief Engineer, which reduces costs whenever we tap creatures. So Thopter Squadron ended up only requiring 2 mana to cast. So Thopter Squadron is a pretty cool card. I guess we should go ahead and put Thopters into play because we cast an artifact, because we have Efficient Construction and we have Psi Master Thopterist. So Thopter Squadron is a 5-cost 0/0 artifact creature with flying. When it enters the battlefield, though, it enters the battlefield with 3 +1/+1 counters on it. So it doesn't start with it like normally has 0 toughness, but because it enters the battlefield with +1/+1 counters, then it stops that, you losing it just from playing it. So it has pay a colorless, remove a +1/+1 counter from it to create a Thopter. Then it has pay a colorless, sacrifice a Thopter to put a +1/+1 counter back onto Thopter Squadron, I mean. So basically, if we can find a way to put extra +1/+1 counters on Thopter Squadron, we can actually start generating Thopters just from this one card. But now it means that we have 5 indestructible blockers to be able to stop the zombies. And we're just going to go ahead and leave it at that. We're going to pass it on to the zombie deck, and the zombie deck is going to try its best. So we will untap, draw a card. It is Slate of Ancestry. Wow, that's actually a pretty cool card. For now, though, we have our focus. We are focused on doing what we need to. And in this case, it's going to be that let's see. So this activates for 4 mana. This Cavern of Souls will be 1 more black to cast a zombie spell. And we'll have, so it only, this Noxious Ghoul only requires 4 mana to be able to cast because of Jet Medallion. So we generated 5 mana. We're just going to use 4 of that. But one of the ones that we're specifically going to use is Cavern of Souls, because it means that whenever you spend this mana to cast a creature spell of the chosen type, that spell can't be countered. So now the Thopters get to find out. Now the Thopters realize what's going on. The zombie deck found a way through its counter spells in order to be able to kill all of their creatures. So, yeah. That means that because Noxious Ghoul came into play, all of these creatures over on the Thopter side get -1/-1. So, let's see, because they can't do anything, because they're being stopped from being able to, let's see, sorry, because basically all of the Thopters are going to die right now. What we're going to do is we're actually, and we can't counterspell anything. So we're actually going to pay 3 and sacrifice 3 Thopters. So 1, 2, 3, 3 Thopters right here. And we're sacrificing those 3 Thopters to put 3 more counters on Thopter Squadron. But let's see. Actually, okay, well, I guess we're going to do that. Now the zombies over here have a response to that. So this card's ability, the Noxious Ghoul coming to play, its ability got put onto the stack. So let me like represent that with actual cards to make it more obvious what's going on here. So with the zombies here, let's see, let me do it up here. So Noxious Ghoul's ability is going on the stack to give things -1/-1. So on the top of the stack, we have Noxious Ghoul. But then, in response, so that to try to save this Thopter Squadron from being killed, they're going to activate, the Thopter deck is going to activate Thopter Squadron 3 times to sacrifice 3 Thopters and make itself stronger. Squadron. Sorry, times 3. So now that is going on the stack. Right now, until that resolves, Thopter Squadron is actually only a 3/3. So again, in response, we are going to pay, the zombie deck is going to pay, well, actually probably use the last black mana that it has to tap Ghoul Caller Gissa and sacrifice Sidisi, Undead Vizier. And so then what's happening is Ghoul Caller Gissa's ability is going on the stack on top of that. So the way that the stack resolves is it's first in, last out, last in, first out. So the last one that's in, because there's nothing else on the stack to do, nobody else has anything to do, Ghoul Caller Gissa's ability is going to activate. We sacrificed Sidisi, which is a 4-power creature, so we get 4 more zombies. But because Noxious Ghoul is already in play, we get another Noxious Ghoul ability. Noxious Ghoul activates 4 more times because of the 4 zombies that just entered the battlefield. It's whenever it or another zombie enters. So now everything that's not a zombie gets -4/-4, which is actually going to kill all of the creatures on this side of the battlefield. All of them are dead. Even the Thopter Squadron. Because even if Thopter Squadron activated 2 more times, sacrificing 2 more Thopters to try to save itself, to get it up to 5, it will still end up dying from the final Noxious Ghoul. No more artifacts. All of these are gone. Oof. Oh, big oof. That's how quickly it can turn. That's how quickly something like this can just happen, where you think you have everything in hand and then suddenly it switches on you. That's what I like about Magic. That's why I like playing this. So, Noxious Ghoul's ability resolves. So no more of that. Now we need to resolve Thopter Squadron, but Thopter Squadron is no longer on the battlefield. So all of these triggers, or all, not these triggers, all of these abilities that we had activated from it disappear. And then we get the final Noxious Ghoul ability, giving another -1/-1 to all non-zombies. So unfortunately, though, that does mean that Ghoul Caller Gissa isn't a zombie. she's actually going to have died from the first activation of Noxious Ghoul. She's unfortunately dead now, and there isn't anything that we have that can really bring her back, so we're just going to have to leave it at that. Now, we are still in our... we're still here with the zombies. We created 4 zombies. We played Noxious Ghoul. But we have 7 zombies that we can do something with. And we also have some other cards that we could do stuff with. So let's go ahead and we will pay 1 and try to cast Mausoleum Secrets to be able to search up another card. But unfortunately, that's where they're going to counterspell. The Thopter deck is going to prevent the zombies from being able to go searching through their deck with another search card. So that's gone. We could play Graveyard Marshal again, but I'm thinking about whether or not we really want to do that. I guess we could. We could go ahead, since the Thopter deck is tapped out, let's go ahead and play the Graveyard Marshal. And then we will declare attackers with the zombies that can attack. So that is 7 zombies here can attack. And they're all going to attack and get some revenge on that Thopter deck that's so far ahead. Let's see, that's 14 damage total, which means that the Thopters are down to 26. Yeah, 14, so 26 life left. Wow, is that not such a big swing? Oh, I love that. Okay, well, dragons, cross your fingers that they can do anything. Heart of the cards, right, Loppy? Territorial Hydra, or Hellkite. Who, interesting. That's a big question. I don't know. This is a really strong card. We can actually very quickly deal damage, lethal damage to the zombie deck if we get that 1 last mana to use Rage Reflection. If everything played out perfect, then this could be a really interesting card to have. But unfortunately, looking at the zombies could really one-shot us if we're not careful. And I think that maybe it's time to try to put zombies back on level with everybody else. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to Earthquake for 3. So our Earthquake is going to deal 3 damage to each creature, and each creature without flying and each player, which means that that's going to kill all of the zombie cards. So now nobody has anything. Just like the dragons. Sure. That's the thing. Okay, well, at least we have... This is a 4-cost dragon card, so at least we can play it next turn. For now, we're just going to go ahead and pass. And it does mean that we're possibly letting the artifact deck get back into shape. But unfortunately, we don't have anything that we can do about that. We can't let the zombies essentially kill us, because they could turn around and just murder us. Because essentially our problem here is that they've put the zombies have put the squeeze on the artifact deck, but the dragon deck hasn't done anything yet, and the dragon deck could just turn around and use a single flyer and kill off the zombies. So that's going to always be a problem with the zombies, even if the zombies and the dragons haven't interacted yet this entire game. The zombies do really have enough to just turn around and murder the dragon deck. And because the zombies know for sure that they have the artifact deck under control for the rest of the game, pretty much no matter what they have, literally just because of Noxious Ghoul. they're going to have to. They could just turn around and kill off the dragons, hoping that the artifact deck, which has a known game plan already, that yeah, sorry, it makes sense strategically to take down the deck that you don't know what's going on at this far in the game. So let's see, we will untap, upkeep, draw a card. We have Thoughtcast. So let's see what we want to do here. Unfortunately, we don't. Well, let's see. Do we have a? We need a creature to be able to sacrifice for trading post to get some more blockers. Let me think about this. We could do... We have 3 artifacts, so we could do this. So 1 blue and 1 colorless to cast Thoughtcast. So Thoughtcast normally costs 5, but its cost is reduced for each artifact you control. We control 3 artifacts, so it only costs 2 mana, and then we paid the 2 mana, 1 of them blue, and we draw 2 cards. So we're kind of hoping to see an artifact in these, and we did get an artifact, but unfortunately, it's not an artifact that we can... We don't have reduced cost anymore. So we may have to... We may have to go ahead and pay 3 here to cast Grand Architect. And probably just pass the turn at this point. So we... At the very least, we can sacrifice Grand Architect to activate Trading Post to get ourselves an back in one of our artifacts. Oh, and that was supposed to... Oh, crap. Actually, we need to go back a little bit. So we actually did have an artifact in our hand. Okay, so when all of the things got -1/-1 enough times to die, one of them was Mirror Retriever, which returns another artifact card from our graveyard to our hand. In this case, when it died, when it got the first -1/-1, the only artifact that we had in our graveyard was Ichor Wellspring. So that's the card that we're going to bring back, is this one. So we are going to pay 1. Actually, let's do Soul Ring. Let's use Soul Ring for that. We're going to pay 2 to cast Ichor Wellspring. And that's going to draw us a card when it comes into play, and it's going to create an indestructible Thopter. So we did draw a land here, so we could go ahead and play this land for the turn, because we haven't played a land yet this turn. So then let us tap 1, tap Trading Post to sacrifice Ichor Wellspring to draw a card. And then we draw a card for Ichor Wellspring getting destroyed. Oh, wow. I just drew a very important card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8, 9. 10, 11, 12. Well, let's try. Let's try to get in on this. Okay, so we're going to pay 3 mana in order to cast a card called Maraudon Besieged. Maraudon Besieged has, when it enters, it's a 3-cost enchantment, blue enchantment. When it enters a battlefield, we choose Mirren or Phyrexian. If we choose Mirren, then whenever we cast an artifact spell, create a 1/1 colorless mirror artifact creature token. If we choose Phyrexian instead, at the beginning of your end step, so at the very end of your turn, you draw a card, then discard a card. If there are 15 or more artifacts in your graveyard, target opponent loses the game. that is what we are going to try to Moroden besieged our way into the end of the game. So let's end the turn. We draw a card. Okay, so let's discard a card. So I'm going to discard Sharding Sphinx. And then that's it for the turn. The trading post is going to be so bananas now. Oh, that's so weird. Okay. Well, that's, like I said, that's our game plan. We're going to just block our way to victory. Zombie's turn. Untap. Draw a card. It's another swamp. Ooh, it's not what we want to see. Okay, so let's see about we can cast this Risen Executioner from our graveyard. It costs a little bit extra, so let's go ahead and pay that though. So it costs 3 normally with Jet Medallion, but then it requires 3 more, so that's 6 total. We'll use the Cavern of Souls to make sure that it doesn't get countered. So there is our 6 mana to be able to cast it. And unfortunately, that's all that we can do with our turn. We're just going to have to pass it to the dragons and hope that they can do something. So the dragons are going to go untap, upkeep, draw a card. Dragon Speaker Shaman. Okay, that is a card. Let's go ahead and play it. So Dragon Speaker Shaman. And now dragon cards cost 2 less to cast. So we are going to pay 2 to cast Territorial Hellkite. Now, Territorial Hellkite is a 4 cost, so 2 colors, 2 red, but its cost is reduced by 2, so now it's only 2 red. It's a 6/5 Flying Haste dragon with, at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose an opponent at random. So we're going to say zombies are even, Thopters are odd. So zombies are even, so zombies are going to get attacked. You choose an opponent at random that Territorial Hellkite didn't attack during your last combat. So it didn't attack zombies last combat. So that's why we chose both the opponents, but next turn it has to attack the Thopters. So it attacks that player this combat. If able, if you can't choose an opponent this way, tap Territorial Hellkite. So Territorial Hellkite is going to attack the zombie deck and deal it 6 damage, bringing it down to 5 life. And then we are going to pass the turn. So let's see about the Thopter deck. The Thopters are going to just try to quickly end the game here. So untap, upkeep, draw a card. Favorable wins. Okay, well that's like 7 turns too late at this point. So let's play an island, and we're going to first pay a colorless in order to equip the Thopter onto Skull Clamp, but then the Thopter dies and we draw 2 cards. So Hangerback Walker and an island. So we are going to, let's see, we can pay 5 mana in order to cast our Master Thopterist. We are going to cast Hangerback Walker for 0, which allows us to get 2 Thopters. So we get a Thopter from Efficient Construction and 1 from Master Thopterist. But then Hangerback Walker, since we paid 0 and it is a 0/0 unless we pay something, it's going to immediately die. Then we are going to, let's see, let's go ahead and pay 3 mana here, and one of the colorless mana and the blue mana for the island are going to be used for Master Thopterist's ability to sacrifice 2 artifacts and then draw a card. So we are going to sacrifice Darksteel Citadel and Sky Diamond to draw a card. which is an island, unfortunately. Then we are going to... Oh, wait, we have a floating mana. So let's go ahead and equip the Skull Clamp to a Thopter. It dies. We draw 2 cards. 2 artifacts. That's exactly what we wanted to see. Okay, so let's go ahead and tap another blue to equip Skull Clamp one last time to draw 2 more cards. And 2 more artifacts. Exactly, again, more and more what we want to see here. So we did play a land this turn, unfortunately, so we don't have anything else that way we can do. But we can just end our turn, and so at the end of our turn, Maraudon Besieged activates. So we draw a card, then discard a card. So we're going to discard Pilgrim's Eye. And then let's see how many artifacts we have in our graveyard. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 artifacts. Well, unfortunately, we didn't get anybody this turn. But next turn, oh boy, we are going to so that was at the end of the beginning of the end of the turn, basically. I know that sounds weird to say the beginning of the end. So after that, there is a cleanup step where we have to discard. So when you play Magic, you're only allowed to have 7 cards in hand at the end of your turn, unless you have an ability that changes that, and we don't. So we have a big hand we have to discard down to. So I'm going to discard these 4 artifacts, and we need some more stuff, so let's go ahead and discard Favorable Winds. And we need 1 more card, so let's discard the Inspired Sphinx. So that is down to 7 cards, and now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 artifacts in our graveyard. Next turn, we can start ending the game. We can make target opponent lose the game. So we are going to pass on to the zombies and hope that they don't just have the exact right card that they need to stop us, which could happen. It has happened before, but you know, we'll just have to wait and see. So untap, upkeep, draw a card, zombie apocalypse. Oh no! Oh no! And there's no counterspell. Okay, so the zombies are going to play a swamp. Then we are going to pay 5, 6 mana in order to cast Zombie Apocalypse. So return all zombie creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield, then destroy all humans. So, unfortunately, the Psy Master Thopterist is a human, so he has to get destroyed. The Dragon Speaker Shaman is also a human. Wow, human barbarian shaman. So that guy is dead too. I would have guessed he was a goblin, actually. Okay, so now all of my zombies come into play, which means that Sidisi Undead Vizier's ability triggers. Well, also, we have Noxious Ghoul that gives things -3/-3, but nothing else really has enough for that to matter. So Sidisi Undead Vizier causes me to sacrifice a creature when it comes into play. I will sacrifice Graveyard Marshal, and that means I can search my library for any card and put it into my hand. So let's go ahead and find probably that, but give me a second. Let me see if there is anything better or anything that does what we want. And this is sort of, so the artifacts have their powerful cards. The Darksteel Forge is one of those really strong cards. Maraudon Besieged is one of those really strong cards. But we want to be sure that, like when I have these decks, I want to be sure that everybody kind of has a chance to do something that's really powerful. If I don't, then it doesn't end up being fun. So, oh yeah, woo go Thopters. Sorry, I just realized. Yeah, so, yeah, Thopters actually aren't doing so hot. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Yum. They or Yum, if you want to go. Do you want to go by Yum? Yeah, Thopters did have the upper hand. They were about to start winning the game. But unfortunately, zombies just got the exact right card that they needed. Again, they keep getting literally exactly the card that they need to do something. And in this case, it was Sidisi. Well, in this case, it was Zombie Apocalypse to get Sidisi Undead Vizier out again, because they're going to get Nihil Spell Bomb, and they're going to go ahead and cast the Spell Bomb in order to activate it and pay the 1 black. So Nihil Spellbomb is an artifact, costs 1 colorless. It has tap, sacrifice it to exile all cards from target player's graveyard. Yeah, I'm playing all 3 decks at the same time. So sacrifice it to exile all cards from target player's graveyard. And then when it does get put into the when this Spellbomb gets put into the graveyard, we can pay a black in order to draw a card. So we're going to go ahead and do that. But we are exiling the artifact deck's graveyard here, which means that Maraudon Besieged, unfortunately, even though it was about to win the game for them, now they are really far behind. They're going to have to play catch up again, and the zombies may make that impossible. We don't know yet. Okay, so the zombies have a clear path. They're going to go ahead and use their Risen Executioner that came into play last turn in order to attack the... Actually, let's go ahead and attack the dragons. The dragons are kind of an enemy right now. So they're going to attack the dragons and take them down to 30 life. So yeah, the magic that I do is I play either on Sunday, or I play on Sundays, and then I play either on Wednesday or Thursday, and I play somewhere between 3 and 4 decks. So you can kind of see this table here is basically a huge lazy Susan, and it has enough space for me to be able to play 4 decks at the same time. So I just have fun with all the cards that I already own. So Dragon's turn. We're going to untap, upkeep, draw a card. Still not getting that last mana that we need to be able to do stuff. That's crazy. Well, I guess for now, we have 5 mana, so in case we do manage to get another land, let's go ahead and play that Dragon Master Outcast. And then we did draw a 4-cost dragon, so we're going to go ahead and equip... Well, we're going to go ahead and play that dragon, and we are going to equip that dragon with Lightning Greaves so that we can try to put the zombie deck down into killing range here. So Territorial Hydra has to attack. Unfortunately, it has to attack the Thopters this turn because it attacked zombies last turn. So the Varix Bladewing is going to hastily attack the zombie deck for 4 damage, bringing them down to 1 life. And the Thopters are going down to 20 life because of Territorial Hydra. 1 more and we'd have Rage Reflection. My gosh. It's so aggravating. We're so close. So close to the mana that we need for the dragon deck to actually do something. Oh well, it's just a kind of slow burn deck, right? Okay, so back to the Thopters. Poor Thopters. So close to greatness. I mean, they already have greatness, but Noxious Ghoul and the ability to search... The zombies' ability to search their deck for cards was too much. So let's untap and go ahead and draw a card for the turn. Another island. Not really what we wanted to see, but I guess we'll go ahead and play that island. We unfortunately don't have too much we can do, but that being said... interesting. We could turn the zombies game back on themselves. But I'm not sure whether or not that's something we want to do. I think maybe... So the card that we have here is Stolen Identity. And I think we're going to go ahead and cast it because I think that's probably going to be the thing that could save us in this game, save this Thopter deck from losing. And we're going to do that by, we'll pay 6. We will cast Stolen Identity. When Stolen Identity gets cast, we get to put a copy of target artifact or creature. In this case, I need something with haste. We're going to try to hedge our bet that we will create a copy of Territorial Hellkite. It has haste and flying, which is enough to get over the zombies, but its combat is randomized. So unfortunately, we don't know whether or not we are going to be able to get any damage on the zombies and kill them before they keep ruining our life. Basically. So flying haste, and I don't know, let's see. Can I draw a dragon? I'm not sure. That's going to be our dragon. It's a really bad dragon. Let's see. We do like a big eye here. So snout and then maybe a little bit of smoke here. There we go. There's our dragon. So we have Territorial Hellkite. Okay. Okay, sorry. So Stolen Identity. We create a copy of Territorial Hellkite, and then we get to Cipher. So this ability means that we exile the Stolen Identity, but it's going to be exiled kind of sort of attached to a creature. And in this case, we're going to attach it to the only creature that we have, and that's going to be Territorial Hellkite. So now we're going to go to combat, and we're going to really hope that we roll something that allows us to defeat the zombies, because that may put us in a decent position to take on the dragons. The dragons are going to get a really solid attack in on us next turn. But the good thing is that we should be able to fairly quickly start creating indestructible Thopters due to our efficient construction and our Darksteel Forge. So that's what we're going to try to do, and basically put up a wall of creatures that the dragon deck can't get through. And then we will very slowly overwhelm them by basically being able to create Territorial Hellkites every turn. Okay, so let's go. Let's hope this is going to be, so we're going to say evens for the dragon deck and odds for the zombie deck. Come on, odds. Oh, it's evens. No. Okay, well, Territorial Hellkite is going to attack the dragon deck for 6 damage, putting it down to 24. Now, since I dealt combat damage with Territorial Hellkite, I get to copy Stolen Identity and create another copy of an artifact or a creature. I'm going to create a copy of Territorial Hellkite again. Because it's a really good card, and it means that maybe we can use Territorial Hellkites. Oh, Territorial. I can spell, I swear. Let's see, Hellkite. 6/5. Flying haste. Let's see, and let's just do the same picture yet again. Do this, and then there we go. Just trying to get just a little bit so that we can know what it is, right? Smoke. That was actually a worse version of it, but I'm trying to do it too quickly, so. Okay. Zombies, you are very close to losing the game now. If only I had the ability. Oh wait, before we do that, we have to do Marauder and Besieged again. We have to draw a card, then discard a card. So we could discard the Bident of Thassa. I think that we want to keep it now. We're just going to discard an island. Since we have some more lands to go ahead and play, we can play more lands next turn. So let's see. Yeah, that's all. Wait, did we need to discard a card? Yeah, no, we needed to because of that ability. Okay. So let us pass to the zombie deck and see if the zombie deck can get through Territorial Hellkites. Okay, so untap here. Untap, draw a card. It is Army of the Damned. If only that mattered at this point. I need to gain life. I need to find a way to take down the zombies, or I mean the dragons and the Thopters in the same turn. I don't know that I can do that. Well, actually, no. What am I talking about? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. I can do this. I just need to hope that the dragons don't have another dragon in their hand that they can give haste to. So, and the reason that we can is because Army of the Damned, I suppose, like the perfect card to be able to cast. So we are going to pay 7 mana and try to cast, actually, oh, excuse me, geez. Okay, so we need 7 mana. Its cost is reduced by that, but we can activate Nykthos Shrine to Nyx for 6 mana, so we only need 1 more mana to be able to cast Army of the Damned. So let's go ahead and cast that. Unfortunately, we have an Arcane Denial to counter that spell and the mana to be able to cast it. So too bad, no Army of the Damned. And in that case, I think that we have to do this. Well, our next... Sorry. Let's go ahead and go to attackers because all of that is flying. So there's not much we can... Well, we can hold back on one card. So let's go ahead and attack. We need to get the dragons down. I just don't think that there's any way that we can stop this. This is super unfortunate. We're holding this back. We want to attack with these. We could split the attack, but I think the dragons are what's going to be our issue. That maybe we can do something about the Thopters if we can at least keep a hold of Noxious Ghoul. So we're going to attack with these two at the dragons for 9 damage. So that's 4, 9, 5 more, brings them down to 15 life. So now almost everybody's kind of equal, except for me. We will pay during our second main phase. So after we do our attacks, during our second main phase, we are going to attempt to cast Disciple of Bolas. Unfortunately, the Thopters don't have anything they can do about that. Disciple of Bolas is going to sacrifice Sidisi. So we are going to gain X life and draw X cards, where X was that creature's power. It was 5. So we're going to be at 6 life, and we will draw 5 cards. So here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we drew Ashnod's Altar, Door of Destinies, Undead War Chief, Baron Moore, and Liliana Untouched by Death. Let's see. Can we do anything with what we have? And I unfortunately don't think that we can do much of anything with the cards that we have. So I think all that we do is we tap a black mana because we don't have a zombie cheap enough to be able to cast. So we're going to pay a swamp to activate this Baron Moore's ability. So this is a land that normally comes into play tapped, and it does tap for a black mana. But if you already have a bunch of mana, you don't really need another land. You can pay this cycling cost at the bottom. So this swamp has a second ability called Cycling, and it costs 1 black. We discard this card to draw a new card, and it's another land. It's not another zombie. So unfortunately, that's all we're going to do for this turn. We're just going to have 6 life, which is enough to kill us. Oh, well. So, untap. The dragons are going to untap. Draw a card for the turn. It is finally the land that we need. Holy crap. Wow, that took a long time. Okay, so let's see here. Let's go ahead. So we have a few choices here. Stuff that we could do before combat if we wanted. I think that what we want to do is, we know the Territorial Hellkite has to go after the zombies this turn. So that's enough to kill them. We could attack with Varus Bladewing, but I think maybe we want to use it to block the Territorial Hellkite that has the Cipher on it. Or at least have maybe be able to play a creature that has something. So I'm thinking that we set up next turn. So we have a few different choices of things that we could do. We do have a dragon in our hand that is low enough casting to be able to play it this turn. But we also have these 2 enchantments. One of them gives creatures I control double strike. The other one causes it so that basically we get to play free spells every single time. So since we're kind of thinking that Varus Bladewing is probably going to die this turn anyway, or die next turn, because like we could attack this turn, but they're going to block with their probably block with their Territorial Hellkite, especially if we play something with be able to give it double strike. We're going to be sure to be able to kill the zombies this turn with our Territorial Hellkite. So I'm thinking that it's safer to say that it's safer to have a creature that we can block to be able to stop the copy effect. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cast Sunbird's Invocation this turn so that maybe we can start getting more and more free. Well, let's see. Yeah, I think getting free spells at this point is going to be the key, because we really need to get enough mana to cast this Udvara Hellkite. Once we can cast Udvara Hellkite, we're in really, really great shape. So, Sunbird's Invocation is a 6-cost red enchantment, 5 colorless, 1 red. It has, whenever you cast a spell from your hand, reveal the top X cards from your library, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. You may cast a card revealed this way with converted mana cost X or less without paying its mana cost, and then put the rest on the bottom of your library. So basically, we're going to look at, whenever we cast a big spell, we get to reveal a bunch of cards from our library and then play something for free. So for now, we're going to do 1 attack. We're going to attack with Territorial Hellkite against the zombie deck, because we have to, and that will defeat the zombies. Finally, the zombies are dead. And because of that, let's go ahead and clean up the zombie cards here. Let's go and put these away to make space so that we can move the dragon deck over to this space and put the Thopters and the dragons right next to each other. So, let's do this here. And put them over to the side. And move the dragons over to this space right here. So, let's just shift it right like this. So that's the hand. Territorial Hellkite attacked zombies. This is all of our tapped land. Varus, Dragonmaster Outcast, and our Sunbird Invocation with our commander right there. Having had not cast our commander yet, which is unusual with Lathlis. Normally I cast Lathlis a lot sooner, but we sort of have had no choice in the matter at this point. Okay, so we have that. We've done the rest of our turn, so we are going to give it up to the Thopters. And now the Thopters have 2 different Hellkites that they need to attack with, and they're almost certainly going to attack with them this turn. But our goal now is probably going to be, again, trying to use Maraudon Besieged. We're going to generate as many Thopters as we can to block all of the potential from dragons. So let's draw a card for our turn. Whirler Rogue. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 Thopters, and we can tap 2 Thopters to make target creature can't block this turn. So that's pretty good, but it doesn't help us too much with the... since they have the ability to give things Shroud, we can't tap down the things that we want to. So let's play a land for the turn. Let's see. So we've played Master Thopterist twice now. So it costs, this is Soul Ring and an island is its normal cost. 2 more to be able to pay for its first casting. 2 more to pay for its second casting. So now we have Psy Master Thopterist out. So now we can be able to get more, basically make it a little bit easier to get Thopters quicker if we need to. So let's see. Unfortunately, we don't have enough mana to really do any of these things that we need to. So let's go ahead and... They're not going to be able to kill a Hellkite. Let's play this Grand Architect for later so that we can tap creatures for mana if we absolutely need to. We'll go to combat, attack with these 2 Hellkites. So that is going to be 12 damage total. The Dragon deck is going to block the one with Cypher with Varus Bladewing, which Varus Bladewing will die, and then they will take 6 damage and be down to 9 life. So they are very close to dying. So the Dragon deck is really gonna have to pick up pace. Now, the Territorial Hellkites will untap next turn, but then they will tap again because they attacked this opponent their last turn. So let's go to the dragons. So let's untap, upkeep. So we actually do have something on an upkeep now. So Dragon Master Hellkite, at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 6 or more lands, which we do, we get to create a 5/5 dragon. So let's go ahead and get that 5/5 dragon out. And we will... Actually, this is really good news here. I think actually the dragons are going to take it. So let's draw a card. We got another mountain. So let's play that mountain. So here's the... I think we're going to get it. So let's tap 6 mana here. So we have 7. So that's one less that we need to cast Rage Reflection. When we cast Rage Reflection, we get a Sunbird Invocation trigger, which means I'll reveal the top 6 cards of our library. So here's 6. And we can cast a spell without paying its mana cost as long as it costs 6 or less. So we are going to actually cast this Akum Hellkite because the rest of this stuff we're okay just putting on the bottom in a random order. So that's all going on the bottom. And we probably misplayed, but we didn't know that the Thopter deck didn't know that the Dragon deck had this Rage Reflection handy for this case. So what's going to happen is I'm going to equip Lightning Greaves to this 5/5 dragon. And now I have 2 different creatures that can attack this turn. Because my Territorial Hellkite attacked the zombies last turn. So it can untap and attack the last remaining opponent now. So we get to attack with 2 creatures. It's going to be these 2 creatures. So we are now going to deal double strike damage. So with Rage Reflection, creatures I control have double strike. And what that means is that they deal both first strike and regular damage. So with the first strike damage, we take the total amount that we have, which is 11. So because the Thopter deck doesn't have any blockers this turn, they're going to take 11 damage and be down to 9 life. But wait, there's more. The dragons now get to deal regular combat damage, and they deal another 11 damage, which means that the Thopter deck just barely lost. Just barely. Wow. Wow, that's all it takes, apparently. The dragon deck hung back the whole game and then finally was able to sweep the board at the very last second. We were so close. 9 life? That's not a lot of life. We could still have lost that. Wow. Okay, well, good game, man. This is really fun. I'm glad that these decks ended up turning out this way. This is really good. Well, I think that's about it. We're gonna call it a day. That's a full day of Magic for us. So, if you guys have any questions or if you have anything you want to say, just go and get it down now. I'll give you a minute or two, but then I'll probably be just closing up the stream now. So thank you all for watching, though. I really appreciate the people who have come in and said something. Like I said, I try to do this every Sunday for sure, and then it's either Thursday or Wednesday unless I have something else going on. So the next Wednesday or Thursday game will be more Guild Wars, actually. So this past Thursday, what I played was I'm going through and playing 2-color decks. So I did a match between Selesnya. So I did a match with green-white, and then Dimir, which is blue-black, and then let's think, what was it? Rakdos, which is black-red, and then the last one was Simic, which is blue-green. So we did those 4 decks last week. So next week it will be 4 different color pairs. So red-green, red-white. Let's see, I have them up here, blue-red and white-blue. And then the final week will be the last, so there's 10 color pairs. We'll do the last 2 color pairs that I haven't played, and then the 2 winners of the previous 2 weeks. So this past week, Selesnya won with Tristani, Selesnya's voice, so they were able to win this past week. Very close. That was a very close match. You can go back and watch it. It's up on the YouTube channel that I've been posting these streams to. So you can go back and watch it if you want. It was a pretty fun game. Basically, it, as usual, showed that Cathar's Crusade is a really good card. Which, it's not like we needed any convincing, but it's still fun to be able to play that card. It's such a great card. Okay, well, thank you all for watching, and that will be it for today. Have a great week. Bye-bye.